Hey guys, Boss here from 3am Restart. We just wanted to post this video to kind of share our opinions about the new league announcement. Tristan and I watched the live stream together and kind of gave our reactions to it as it was happening. And in the background, I threw in some gameplay from the new Battle Royale mode, which was kind of fun for a little bit, but it definitely could get old after a while. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and like and comment. Give me your live feedback on if I should post something.
Well, hello, world.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to our live stream and thanks so much for joining us today. Our team had a lot of fun putting together Path of Exile's 3.15 expansion, and we've got a lot to share with you. Today's live stream is a busy one. We'll start by revealing the details of this expansion's new Challenge League. Then we'll show you how this expansion is going to dramatically shake up Path of Exile's metagame in a big way.
Wow.
Thirdly, we'll talk about our plans to make Path of Exile more challenging.
That's what I
need.
What is the Battle Royale thing?
Next up,
they did one time.
Path of Exile Royale.
Is that a thing?
100-player Battle Royale mode that we experimented with back in 2018.
Alright, no more Apex.
We'll be
We're
launching
playing
a restored and revamped
PoE Battle
Royale
Royale
today, once our question and answer session with Ziggy D is concluded. And this event will run over the weekend.
I mean, it's kind of like whoever
Anyway,
one-shots the other person
so let's get
first.
started with the trailer for
No,
Path of
no, no,
Exile's
no. Like
next
sometimes
expansion.
there's just chivalry. I don't know. Like back in the old days, whenever it was a daily.
Yeah.
Many centuries ago, our people traveled to this accursed continent. We return to reclaim our lost relics. But Rayclast grips its secrets tightly. We must wrench them from its grasp.
What's flying? What the?
You know violence.
Mining League Part 2?
Retrieve
Delve
our
Part
relics
2?
and we'll strike a deal.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
We're buying stuff again.
We will follow the path of our forebears to discover their unknown fate.
We're expediting. Expedition. I have oh my.
I like that.
I like that.
That one looks so cool.
Rage
Right?
Vortex?
Rage Vortex?
Wow.
Voltaxic Burst? Storm Rain?
Many
No, I want them all right now!
For one who
What's an
may
FTL?
finally
Oh, what?
Badass here.
Ooh, what?
Right, that looks like the
and
enemies from
power
Bloodborne.
will be yours should you survive our expedition.
July 23rd, so you know what that means. Take the 24th off work.
I already did.
All right, I've got a lot
It was
to
a
tell you
joke
about.
because
Let's start with the
their
Expedition
launches are
League
not
itself.
good.
Long ago, Kalguran explorers came to Rayclast in the hope of colonizing it. Rayclast did what it does best, and they never returned. In the Expedition League, you will meet a group of Kalgurans who have set out on an expedition to investigate the fate of their ancestors and recover special ruined artifacts they left behind.
Looks
The
like some
ancient Kalgurans
PoE2
underestimated the
shit.
dangers of Rayclast, and this new expedition is no exception. They need your help to protect them from the undead that rise at their expedition sites.
I like
As you travel through
I'm gonna
Rayclast,
say
you'll
wrong, the
encounter the
Stygian
Kalgurans
look.
at sites they believe their ancestors attempted to settle in the past. By
I
the
like
time you
glowy
get there,
teal
they will have marked the
things.
site with signs indicating where chests are buried, holes indicating where their ancestors lie, and will have possibly unearthed some remnants of past Kalguran settlement. Due to the unique nature of Rayclast, the Kalgurans have found that the most effective way to excavate these sites is
Just
with
blow
explosives.
them.
And that's where you come in. You'll place a chain of explosives across the expedition
Blow
site,
everything
carefully
up.
planning what each blast is going to unearth.
Carefully planning. You
harvest.
just slap them everywhere.
We're putting down
Once you push the
pylons.
plunger, any undead freed by the explosions rise from the ground and the slaughter begins.
Wow, that was pretty cool.
Some of these fallen
like
Kalgur are more
ghost
difficult
swords
and rewarding
with
than
their
others, and have been indicated with special markers.
I think you're ahead of me. That's okay.
Once you have defeated the army of undead, you're free to open all of the chests you unearthed and claim your rewards.
And all that white loot.
It's up to you to decide where to place the chain of explosives to maximize your gains. Do you unearth a lot of monsters? Do you unearth more special monsters? Or do you go for the chests and try to avoid combat?
But is there a boss?
The ancient Kalguran explorers built structures on Rayclust, and you may encounter remnants of these at excavation sites. These remnants have various modifiers on them that, when destroyed, apply to monsters and chests unearthed from that explosion onwards. Remnants greatly increase drops, but have some very difficult modifiers like immune to physical damage. You'll need to be very careful with your decision of which remnants to chain your explosives through, as they substantially ramp up the difficulty and rewards of the encounters. Speaking of rewards, there's a lot of cool stuff to find. Alongside valuable equipment and
That's
currency
some
items
stuff.
are Kalguran artifacts and logbooks, which we'll talk about soon. The Kalguran traders have made this expedition to Rayclast in order to recover their ruined artifacts. There are many different types of artifacts, and each of the Kalgurans is interested in a different set of them, with a unique way they want to trade them from you. For this expansion, we really wanted to play with the idea of having NPCs that want to trade with you in different ways. So we have themed their behaviors around the concepts of gambling, bartering, upselling, and exchanging. Let's meet the Kalgurans. Tuyen is a mercurial trader who maintains a positive outlook as long as he can, but if you cross a line, his temper changes quickly. Tuyen offers you items with unreasonably high prices, but he's happy to haggle. You can always buy the item at the price he's offering, but if you offer a lower price, he might accept it, counteroffer, or withdraw the item entirely if he is offended by your lowball.
Oh no.
He also occasionally sells currency
Not a
items,
fan of
so it's
haggling.
worthwhile keeping some of the artifacts he's looking for on hand just in case you see an opportunity. Grog is an African
gonna
man
sell an
pushed
exalt.
into Rayclast's dangers. He's helpful, concerned, and a bit fearful. He is very happy for you to do the fighting so that he can stay safe on the sidelines. He loves making deals and trying to upsell you. If you buy one of the items that Grog offers, he'll try to offer you a more complex deal where he improves the item via crafting. If you accept this deal, he'll try to upsell you again and again until you eventually walk away with your purchase. If you can't afford one of these incremental upgrades, you can leave and come back later with enough ruined artifacts to cover the cost.
So what part are you at?
Because you don't get to supply your own starter item for this
Because
process,
you don't
and
get
have to select an
supply
item with
starter
promise
items.
from the range that he offers,
Yeah.
his incremental
Am I very
rather
far behind?
cheaply.
No.
Gwenin is a cynical
reload
gambler
stream
who
raiders.
claims that luck depends on how hard you
Winning in
believe.
is a
So you
cynical
really need to
gambler.
convince yourself that you're going to get that headhunter. It's your fault. Gwenin shows you a set of base types with unknown properties. When you gamble by buying
I
one,
think I
you'll receive a
winded up
random
better.
item of that
I
base
wasn't
type
too
back.
far ahead.
It could easily be a random magic item that you have no use for, but can sometimes be a valuable rare or unique item.
I get
It's
paused.
probably best to
okay,
prioritize
just
gambling on
reloaded
base
mine.
types that are most relevant to your character. Once you have
Stream Raiders
exhausted all
has
the
an
items
update?
that interest you,
Just
it's
keeps
possible to
telling me
use
to
a
reload
specific
it
new
every
currency
time.
item to re-roll the gamble
Every time it
with a set
opens.
of new items of your current level. Sometimes a base type shows up that is a lot more expensive than it would otherwise be, and gambling on this item has a higher expected value than normal. You're taking the risk, though, that it could still be junk. Danig, Warrior Skald, is the heart of the expedition, its brave leader and lawmaster. Danig is interested in specific
Just
types
the
of ruined
coolest guy.
artifacts and wants to trade these from you for a variety of options, such as currency that lets you re-roll vendor inventories, logbooks, or artifacts that other Kalguran traders are looking for. You can talk to the traders in the wild, in town, or in your hideout. They
Hints
grant
out,
you
oh no.
access to your expedition locker,
Oh my.
which is like the heist locker, a lockbox for League-specific items, which can be accessed in all three places also. We're adding the affinity system to these lockers. Among the many relics of the ancient Kalgurans you might find at their expedition sites are logbooks. These ancient books chronicle the locations that their ancestors visited in their exploration of Rayclast. A logbook item can be rolled to have a set of explicit mods, like an endgame map. Each location within the logbook has its own implicit mods, as well as a theme that controls what types of remnants can be found there. Talk to Danig in your hideout and give him a logbook you have found to go on an expedition to one of the locations it describes. These are all
Logbook
sounds
exotic
pretty
places
cool.
that no
Yeah, I
one
mean,
else
it's
has
the
ever
extra
traveled to
man.
before. Just like how a blighted map was one
The
giant blight encounter with no natural monsters, the expedition you go on from a logbook is one giant expedition. Expeditions from logbooks are not only different because of their large size, but because there are special
At
objects.
first,
that
I thought
interact
he had
with
an
regular
umbrella.
explosives.
The way the sword
For
and shield
example,
was like
trees that
connected.
contain monsters or items, passageways that reveal chests or
Yeah,
bosses, and so
no.
I
on.
know.
Not very good
I
at.
know.
Speaking of bosses, there are some formidable ones for you to seek out, and a set of valuable new unique items and base types that can only come from expedition content.
That's a cool boss though.
The Kalguran people are not from Rayclust,
Mm-hmm.
so the items do not have the same defensive
safe.
properties that ours do. Instead of
Very-
armor, evasion, and
very
energy
cool.
shield, they have ward. This
What?
new base type is a pair of boots that grants ward and
Oh,
can get
yeah?
mods that improve it. The way that ward works is that you have a certain amount of it, and that amount
Rating.
is fully deducted from the first incoming hit that you receive. Your ward is then disabled
Huh.
and takes 5 seconds to re-enable. At that point, the next hit you receive is substantially mitigated in the same way. It's quite a different style of defensive property and works very well in conjunction with systems like evasion, block, or dodge. As the undead enemies you unearth in expedition encounters are fallen Kalguran explorers, they also have a ward rather than traditional defenses.
Hmm.
This unique helmet allows you to go all in
Faith
with
Guard,
ward
I
as a
thought that was
defensive
already in
option
the
for
game.
your character. It causes
Oh,
all increases
like a
to energy
cosmetic
shield
thing.
to affect your ward instead, grants you a bunch of ward, and helps it recover faster. This other unique helmet is also on a new base type that grants ward
That's
instead of other defense types, but its
interesting.
properties don't interact with
Never
ward.
deal critical
Instead,
strikes,
it
but
prevents
you
from
get
dealing
battle
critical
mate.
strikes and grants you Battle Mage, which adds spell damage equal to the damage of your main hand weapon.
Huh.
The new base types and uniques I
took
showed you
the
here are just some
Templar
of the
thing
ones
and
you'll be
put
able
it
to discover when
somewhere
you
else.
play next week. So that's the Expedition League. Each of the developers I've spoken
Expedition.
to has liked a
What a
different
name.
aspect of it, but I have really personally been enjoying the different trade mechanics offered by the Kalguran NPCs. The
Trade
gamble window
mechanics.
takes me back 20 years on a nostalgic trip, and Tuyin's haggling manages to capture the intense feeling I get when negotiating. And anyone who really knows me knows how much I love negotiating. This expansion also
I do
promises to
not.
massively shake up the Path of Exile metagame, and we're doing that by introducing new gems.
I'm gonna show
Lots
all of
and
them.
lots of new gems. For quite a while now, the way we have approached new skills in Path of Exile expansions is to make a bunch of gems themed around an entirely new build or dramatically augmenting a few existing builds. The blood skills in the Ultimatum expansion are a good example of this. While this approach is great in terms of creating interesting new builds, it doesn't always affect every character game-wide. In order to achieve this big
That's true.
metagame shakeup,
It's like every
come up with a
Scion.
crazy idea for
I'm
the
glad to hear.
Expedition expansion. Adding a gigantic pile of new gems at once, spread among as many different playstyles as possible. Each
Some
of
of
these
those gems
gems
look
can
pretty
of course
cool.
be used by many different classes, but we use the list of 19 ascendancy classes for inspiration when planning these gems.
Like, you're pretty. I will
Our
eat
goal
you.
here is that regardless of which build you're playing,
It's a
there will be
jelly.
new gems that you can add to your character. Let's go through the 19 new skill and
Oh,
support
we're going
gems.
through all of them.
Path of Exile gem
The
candy.
Earthbreaker support gem can be linked to any slam skill.
Earthbreaker.
Upon use, it summons an ancestor totem that uses that slam on your behalf. In this example,
What?
we've created a build that summons multiple ancestor totems that each wield tectonic slam. As you can see, this build covers a large area of
That's
fiery
pretty
death while you
cool.
get to stay out
That
of
is
harm's
pretty
way.
cool.
This is a powerful option for chieftains in particular due to the various totem bonuses
That's what I was
available
thinking.
on their ascendancy passive tree. Adept players will also be wondering if the Earthbreaker support allows you to create leap slamming totems, and the answer is absolutely.
Oh, my. Oh.
As with other ancestor totems, the
That's
Earthbreaker
brilliant, I
support
love it.
also provides a buff to you, granting some increased area of effect with melee skills. Rage Vortex provides a new way to consume
That
your
one's
rage,
pretty cool.
unleashing a whirling vortex that rapidly
Turns out
hits
I
enemies
like all the
with its
Marauder
rage.
ones. Show it again.
It gains damage and area of effect based on how much
Shatter.
rage was sacrificed. The vortex slows down when enemies survive being hit by it, causing it to deal intense damage to
Never
tough
sacrifice
targets.
your rage. Hold it
While you
close
can
and
only
let it
have one
fester.
rage vortex active at a time, characters such as Berserkers who are
Life
able to
advice
generate a
from
lot of
Tris.
rage quickly will find it a great way to augment their damage output.
Yeah, hold on to the rage forever and let it build up.
Bone Shatter
Like a big
strikes
cycle.
your enemies with a forceful blow. If an enemy is stunned by this attack, a powerful shockwave is released. The area of
I like
effect
that
of a
weapon.
shockwave is determined by the duration of the stun you inflicted.
It's a fort effect.
Each time you use Bone Shatter against an enemy, you
Oh,
take physical
give me
damage
a wallet.
yourself and gain a trauma stack. The more stacks you have, the more damage Bone Shatter will deal to both you and your
I
enemies.
guess I should.
This self-damage mechanic
don't
makes
know.
the Juggernaut the ideal
See in
class
the
for the
dark.
skill,
What, are we all
because
muted?
they have easy access to lots of armor to
What?
mitigate the downside.
I don't think we're
Also,
muted.
the Juggernaut
Should
has
we be
ascendancy
muted?
passives that grant increased stun duration,
It was a
which
joke.
help
I
make
was
sure the
picking on
shockwave
you.
is as large
I
as
don't know.
possible.
I verified that 30 seconds before we started.
Defiance Banner is a new purely
Oh, a new
defensive
banner?
banner skill. While you carry the Defiance banner, it increases the armor
What
and
is he
evasion of
doing?
nearby allies while reducing the critical strike chance of nearby enemies.
What is
It
that?
also
His
gains stages while
HP
carried near
thing
enemies
looks
and can
really
be placed
cool.
on the ground to enhance its
That's
effects.
the petrified
When
blood
the
or
Defiance
whatever.
banner is placed, it
Ultimatum.
inflicts a
I'll mess
taunt
with
on
none of
enemies for a
that.
duration, based on
Sure.
the number of stages the banner had accumulated while it was carried. Enemies affected by this taunt also deal less damage to all targets.
Interesting.
The next
more
new
like
skill is
tanky.
Shield
Shield Crush?
which swipes your shield towards
Oh
enemies and sends out
Wait, that
forceful
looks so
waves
cool.
of damage
Oh, that's
based on the stats
awesome.
of your shield.
I don't know what armor
These waves
it's
will
wearing, but it
shotgun
looks
enemies
so
with up to
cool.
2 hits at once. So while Shield Crush is great against
Oh my
groups, it's also effective against single targets and can be used alongside Shield
The
Charge and
aesthetic
Spectral
right
Shield
here
Throw.
is freaking
We've
great.
improved both of these skills so that the overall aggressive shield build is more powerful.
Aggressive shield build?
The new
No string
PoE
waiters.
support gem can only support strike skills and is basically like a mini headhunter. When a supported strike kills a rare enemy, you'll steal one of its modifiers. Obviously, this gem can't be as crazy as the full headhunter experience, so it comes with some restrictions. Stolen modifiers can persist for 20 seconds, and slaying another rare enemy will replace the modifier you have active. The Behead support gem also grants you more damage against enemies on low life. In conjunction with the Slayer's Bane of Legends Ascendancy passive, this bonus really embraces the execution theme of the Behead support. Storm Rain is a new bow skill that fires arrows that stick into the ground. These arrows periodically pulse with lightning damage
That
that arcs
is
to nearby arrows.
very PoE
This skill
2.
works very
it
well with
feels
multiple
like.
projectiles because you can quickly set up a large patch of lightning
I like
death.
them crossbow skill.
Existing ballista skills in Path of Exile pick their own targets, like sentry guns do. They'll start shooting immediately and will generally target the closest enemies. While this behavior is usually great, sometimes you want fine control over what your ballistas will fire at. The focused ballista support gem causes your ballistas to pick the same targets as you, and they will only fire when you fire your own ranged weapon. It also makes the ballistas fire a lot faster than they otherwise would. This
that's
support
good.
gem allows you to effectively focus fire on
Attack
specific
speed
enemies such
second.
as bosses. Explosive Concoction is quite a novel skill. It introduces several new concepts
That's
that
pretty
haven't
cool.
been explored with skills before. Here you can see the Pathfinder throwing an explosive projectile at monsters.
You're a
First,
chemist.
you may notice that the Pathfinder isn't holding any weapons. This is because Explosive Concoction is the very first ranged skill that can and must be used unarmed. It's also the first
yeah?
skill that directly interacts with
That's
the benefits
crazy.
provided by your flasks. When you
Wait.
throw your Explosive Concoction
fire?
onto a targeted area, it deals fire damage and uses available charges from your Ruby, Sapphire, and Topaz flasks to grant bonuses based on what flask charges were used. The skill still works even if you don't have the appropriate flasks or charges to consume, but correctly managing your flask setup can greatly enhance the power of this skill. What we
Wow,
really love about this
that's
gem
pretty
is that it
crazy.
brings to life the idea of throwing your flasks at enemies and having them explode. In conjunction with the flask-focused benefits provided by the Pathfinder's Ascendancy passive skills, we're really excited to see what new playstyles are enabled by this gem. This is the Ambush skill. It teleports you
Oh
up to
my
an
God.
enemy, blinds them, and exerts your next one-handed melee attack. This exerted attack has a high critical strike chance and multiplier. In addition to this helping your assassinations, you can also use Ambush to quickly re-engage targets after dashing away.
Wow.
Voltaxic Burst grants a buff that counts down
Oh,
to 0,
here it is.
triggering a burst of lightning
Wait, what?
damage around you with a portion of that damage converted to chaos damage. Enemies slain by your Voltaxic Burst will also explode, dealing
pretty
chaos damage
interesting.
around them based on their maximum life. You can stack up many Voltaxic Bursts on yourself at the same time. Consider using duration modifiers to modify the timing of the explosion so that you can cast the skill from
It has a
safety
lot of
and then
charges.
move into a strategic position before it explodes. When you use Blade Trap, you throw out a mechanical device with 2 copies of your weapon attached. These blades spin rapidly in a circle a set number of times, dealing damage to anything they pass through. When dual wielding, the trap rotates faster but deals damage based on both
I need
weapons.
to step away, but I'm gonna keep watching.
Because
so.
it's a trap, Blade Trap behaves a little
Still
differently
yummy.
to other attack
Thanks.
skills
Won't
by
be one
operating
more.
independently of your attack speed. This means you'll have some interesting itemization choices to make and focusing more on damage modifiers rather than the typical focus of maximizing attack speed. Summon Reaper creates a single powerful minion that uses fast melee physical attacks which cause bleeding.
Yo, we playing
While the
Reaper in
is
this
active,
game.
You can use the skill again to
I don't
direct
even
the
need to
Reaper
wait
to a
for
specific
14.
location, dealing a powerful attack along its path.
Oh my.
The Reaper wants
I
to
might
be
play
your
Witch for the
only
first
minion.
time.
It reduces the life and damage of your other minions, and will consume them to heal itself and gain damage and speed
Oh.
buffs. When designing this new skill
That's
for
so cool.
Necromancer, we wanted to explore the idea of having a single ultimate minion. While there were ways to somewhat achieve this before, the Reaper is quite different in its abilities and interactions with other minions. It also feels much more active and directly under your control. One quick note though, the Reaper will absolutely eat your animated Guardian if you're not careful.
That's
Forbidden
pretty
Rite
funny.
is a powerful new spell that fires an exploding chaos projectile at a targeted area.
Okay, that's
It also targets a selection of enemies in an area around the player's location
Ooh, looks like
and
it
fires
costs health.
projectiles at them too. But
That's
be
a lot of
careful,
health.
Forbidden Rite also inflicts damage on
Oh,
you
when it can
cast.
kill you.
If you can find a clever
Catch
way to
notes
mitigate
when.
this harmful downside, you'll
That's
have
pretty good.
devastating and widespread damage at your fingertips. The Eye of Winter is a large projectile that fires out a barrage of cold projectiles in a spiral formation as it travels. When it reaches its maximum distance or collides
it
with the
Switch
terrain,
League?
it explodes, firing out even more projectiles in a spiral. This type of skill is one we've been wanting to bring to Path of Exile for a long time, and we felt that this new collection of skills was the perfect place to showcase it. This Inquisitor is using the new Battle Mage's Cry skill, which taunts nearby enemies and exerts your subsequent attacks, causing them to trigger a linked
What are the
spell when
meteors
enemies
coming
melee
from?
hit.
Oh,
Here you can see the player
wow.
taunting enemies with Battle Mage's Cry and using Consecrated Path to teleport to enemies. The slam is exerted,
heck?
triggering Firestorm to rain down on those enemies. In order to assist with scaling both attack and spell damage, the buff this Warcry provides lets your spell damage apply to your attacks. This property is
Oh, yeah?
usually only available on wands and certain unique items.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Mana Bond is a somewhat unusual gem in that its source of power relies on your current mana.
Oh, the
Upon
thunder
use,
is
it creates a
angry.
rune that explodes at a location you're targeting. This explosion can either deal more damage or cover a larger area depending on the state of your mana. The more mana that's missing from your mana pool, the more damage Mana Bond will deal, as it converts a percentage of your missing mana into added lightning damage. The more full your mana pool is, the more area the explosion will cover. This means that being adept at managing your mana pool becomes
So like
highly
a
advantageous.
mana stacking
For
build.
example, having slightly higher mana while clearing a map provides greater clear speed, but when fighting tougher enemies, having a lower current mana amount is
Yeah,
better.
definitely. It's like a mana stacking thing.
Absolution has been designed for Guardians as a spell version of Dominating Blow. Absolution deals a damaging
Spell
shockwave in a
Dominating
targeted
Blow.
area. When it kills an enemy, it summons a Sentinel of Absolution, which also deals damage by casting Absolution itself. The Sentinels also periodically cast a larger version of Absolution on the cooldown. While the
Or can they
Sentinels
summon
version of
more?
Absolution can't summon even more
Okay.
minions, they are a powerful army to fight against. Spectral Helix throws a spectral copy of your melee weapon which spirals outwards from you, dealing damage to
What
any
the
enemies it
heck?
passes through. The design of this skill achieves what we always wanted Val's Spectral Throw to be. We thought it was a really fun idea for a skill, but because of the limitations caused by the soul-gathering requirements of Val skills,
Wow.
it wasn't possible to use Val's
That
Spectral
looks
Throw as
pretty
a
funny,
primary skill.
actually.
Now that Spectral Helix can live up to this purpose, we've reworked Val's Spectral Throw, which we'll reveal
Yeah.
closer to release. One of the other issues that Val's Spectral Throw had was that it didn't work very well in indoors areas. However,
Wow,
Spectral
that's
Helix
something.
improves upon this, as the projectiles that spiral outwards can also bounce off of walls and proceed to hit enemies, rather than simply
cool.
disappearing upon collision.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Over the last few years, Path of Exile has really suffered from player power creep. As a consequence of trying to make compelling
Player power
content,
creep.
each expansion we release either gives players more axes on which to improve their character, more effective skills to use, or ways to craft better and more powerful items. Measuring from closed beta to now, this Expedition expansion is our 30th Path of Exile release. The amount of power creep varies per release, of course, with systems like Ascendancy classes providing, like 20, 30, 40% power creep at once? Like with Compound Interest,
They
we
nerfed
only
those
take
a bit.
8% more player power per expansion from new items, crafting, character systems, item acquisition opportunities, and new skills for player power to grow tenfold since the game has been out. And tenfold is roughly what we measure the increase in player power to be. We may nerf the most out-of-hand cases every launch, but we're only reducing them back down to close to the new baseline. The average Path of Exile character gets more and more powerful. While we do occasionally add new endgame challenges that are appropriate for the current power level of top characters, the rest of the game just becomes relatively easier and easier. Some games handle this by just endlessly and exponentially scaling monster life and damage to
Diablo.
counteract player power growth. Eventually, the numbers get too large and you need to crunch them all down again. This is a really cheap approach and makes the game feel
Diablo.
like a treadmill, where the developers are just turning a knob as they hand you
Iron
the power,
shots.
keeping you in the same place forever. We don't want to treat Path of Exile like that, and hence our solutions are more complicated. At the same time, one of the issues is that players will always pick the most powerful way of interacting with any game system, even when that's not actually fun to play. This leads to behaviors like Flask Piano, or the way that everyone just picks support gems that basically add pure damage. As game designers, it is our responsibility to make sure that the most powerful behaviors are also the most fun to engage with. With that in mind, the balance changes that we are making in Expedition are far-reaching and are going to affect almost all characters. Our goal is not to just nerf specific builds, but to improve the game, its challenge, and to make sure that people want to pick fun build choices.
Welcome back. So we're all playing witches this week, right?
Anyone who played Path of Exile
Apparently.
can attest to how
I don't even need to wait till November. We play a Reaper next week, baby.
Terrifying, able to kill for a few seconds of inattention. Players feared
That
going
looks
into
so
the ship
cool.
graveyard cave because of the flicker strike ghosts.
Forbidden
They were
Right looked
careful
awesome,
around
and
rowers
then
because a couple of
it
unlucky
didn't.
charges could outright kill them. Trying to kill a Goatman Shaman while he had Molten Shell up was a pretty terrible idea. Nowadays, however, the game is a lot easier. We added level 2 and 4 support gems without increasing the difficulty of the game to compensate at all. Modern League mechanics shower the player in rare items from early levels, and we didn't make the game any harder in response. In fact, it's very interesting to compare the difficulty of League content with that of the base game. For a few years now, we've been shipping difficult leagues where monster life and damage values are a lot higher than the regular monsters that players fight between those League encounters. Players enjoy League content because it's challenging.
PoE 2.
They also told us
You
they
just throwing
really
this
enjoyed
on
the
here?
Path of Exile 2 demo at ExileCon, and it was tuned to be almost punitive in terms of difficulty. One thing we learned from building that demo was that it's okay for some monsters to be able to run 20 to 40% faster than the player. In Path of Exile 1's first act, there isn't a single monster that moves faster than the player's default movement speed. We are rebalancing the campaign to be challenging. So far, we have focused mostly on
actually
Act
seen
1,
this,
but with
but
each
that's
coming
pretty cool.
expansion, we'll be extending this further.
Is
Fun
this
is that within
big
a year or so, we'll
Tiger
have reviewed
Hill?
or touched every single monster in the game. While this additional challenge probably won't stop our most skilled players easily dominating the campaign or running through it to get to maps quickly, it will
She
mean that
can
players who engage with the content will find a consistent difficulty level between League content and regular content.
wreck me sometimes.
It's
though.
worth noting
Murder.
that
Yeah,
the
right.
behavioral and
Like
balance
sometimes
changes to
it's super
monsters
easy, and
will
then other
definitely
times
affect
I just get murdered.
conclusions.
And I'm like, I don't understand what I'm doing differently.
Yeah.
For quite some time,
Yeah,
Path
that's
of
kind
Exile
of
players
the
and developers
first-
have been keen for a big rework to its Flask system.
Oh.
In the endgame, Flasks grant really powerful buffs for a number of seconds after use, and these buffs allow the player to kill monsters quickly, filling the flasks up so they can be used as
What
soon
is
as they
it?
run out.
What's
With
the
5
rework?
such flasks equipped, the correct behavior was to spam the 1 to 5 keys repeatedly to keep all the flasks constantly up without any downsides. This Flask Piano playstyle was popular enough that players were improvising devices to hit all of those keys at once. Spamming these keys repeatedly to get a powerful set of buffs that rival the power you get from
That's
your
really-
entire
It's
set of
everywhere,
equipped
dude.
items is not
I've-
a fun game mechanic.
Never
It's
mind.
unbalanced and certainly
gonna
isn't
stick
nice on your
that way.
wrist. It prevents us from balancing the game well for players who aren't smashing their keyboard constantly and seriously restricts the design space we can use on flasks. In addition, certain unique flasks completely outclass other ones in terms of raw damage output.
Model B.
It was pretty clear to us that Path of Exile will be a lot better if we did some serious work on flasks to make sure that their incentives were aligned with fun rather than with
So
spam
tell us what you
alignment.
did.
Most utility flasks and unique flasks have been rebalanced. Expect a lot less permanent power from flasks. Flasks that provide raw defense or raw power are the ones with the biggest nerfs. Some flasks have been selectively buffed a bit if they were underpowered or less popular. In the Expedition expansion, there are now 3 ways that you can use flasks. You can either continue to use the rebalanced ones the traditional way, or you can apply one of the 2 new types of currency items to your flasks. The Instilling Orb and Enkindling Orb drop as part of the regular drop pool from regular monsters and chests. The Instilling Orb will cause a flask to be used automatically upon a specific condition being met. For
Oh, yeah?
example, when its charges become full or when you become affected by Ignite. This
That's
means that
pretty
in
cool.
the cases where you would previously want to time a specific flask usage, you can now rely on it happening automatically, with the only trade-off being that it may consume charges that you otherwise wouldn't intend it to. There are a variety of different conditions, and a random one is enchanted onto your flask, overwriting the others each time you use an Instilling Orb on it.
You think they're going to be so
The
expensive?
Enkindling Orb prevents utility flasks from gaining charges while active, but provides a big boost to their effect, duration,
Wow.
or various ways they interact with their charges. There are various different types of boosts, so you can use more orbs to reroll for the one that you want.
No.
When a flask removes a curse, it no longer applies a period of immunity to curses. Flasks that
Oh.
remove ailments now only provide a period of immunity to that ailment
Oh my
if
God.
they actually removed it. So if you get ignited, use a dowsing flask to remove the ignite and to gain immunity for a while. You can't spam the flask before you're ignited to be permanently immune. If you want permanent mitigation of ailments, there are other options for your build. Note that we have rebalanced ailment mitigation in general, so there aren't a few options that completely outclass the rest. Monster density in Path of Exile gets a lot higher as you play through the game. When we
Yep.
initially balanced Blast Charge generation a decade ago, we did not anticipate the levels of monster density we would reach by 2021. Monsters in Acts 6 through 10 now generate fewer flash charges, and monsters in maps generate even fewer still.
Boy.
So now there's a lot
You're
more
gonna die
strategy involved
somewhere.
with flask use. Flasks don't gain as many charges, so are a little harder to constantly spam, and
Gonna
aren't
die
designed to
many
provide
times.
such a powerful slew of permanent buffs. But you can control which provide larger than normal effects, and which are triggered automatically as part of your build.
The trigger
We've reworked
automatically is
existing
cool again.
flasks such as Basalt and Aquamarine flasks, and
Yeah,
have introduced
especially if
new
there's, like, a
Corundum
health
and Gold
percentage.
flasks.
Yeah. That'd be pretty
For
cool.
a while now, we have been concerned with a power gap between support gems.
I guess I'm not
There are
playing
gems that
Stream
grant
Raiders
huge
update.
multiplicative damage bonuses, and there are gems that do a bunch
Oh,
of
I
stuff
closed
you don't
mine out
really
too.
care about. When you're building a character, by far the correct choice is just to stack on all the multiplicative damage bonuses and ignore all the interesting utility support gems because their opportunity cost
good,
is
bud?
just too high. We are reducing the damage bonuses on the support gems that are clearly just about huge damage boosts and trying to give them impactful and appropriate downsides. For example, the Controlled Destruction support gem now penalizes critical strikes multiplicatively. Overall, this works out to a total of somewhere around 20%, potentially as high as 40% damage reduction for a character using a fully 6-link skill with entirely damaged support gems. There's much less impact for characters that use utility support gems or those who didn't have a 6-link setup. This achieves two goals for us. Firstly, the gap between good and bad support gems has been narrowed, creating more interesting build opportunities. Secondly,
That's good.
player damage output in the endgame is reduced, which is a goal for this balance pass. As I mentioned, we want to iteratively restore challenge to Path of Exile. It's worth clarifying that we haven't buffed unused utility support gems as part of this balance pass. It's fully intentional that it's a
It's all
reduction
there.
of power for the most damaging ones.
When
When
they
we're
ain't gonna
designing
like
skills
that
for
on
Path of
Reddit.
Exile, the mana cost of the skill is a mechanism to allow it to have larger impactful effects. Bigger skills should cost more mana to cast. Unfortunately, this entire mechanism is currently bypassed by triggering skills as this skips their mana cost. This basically
true.
means that we can't design really powerful spells. In 3.15, triggering skills through support gems will require paying their mana cost. In fact, sometimes it now costs more than casting the gem by hand. Thankfully though,
Ooh.
this isn't very hard with well-constructed characters. Certain support gems that were
Bold of you
originally
to think I
disabled
make
from supporting
well-constructed
triggered
characters.
skills, like Arcane Surge, can now be
Right?
used to support them. Builds that use triggered skills are some of the most interesting characters in Path of Exile, and they are often the best representation of the craziness that our character customization system allows. We're confident
Oh, I
they are
guess this
just as
is
powerful as before, but we
like a
now have
nerf
more
to cast all
interesting design
channeling
space to
or
explore
cast
with
on
future
crit or
skills.
whatever, maybe.
Now let's
So
talk
it'll
about movement
cost that?
skills. As you know, most interaction with monster behavior is essentially bypassed if you're using an extremely effective movement skill. This is okay if you're specialized deeply into customizing that skill, but it's currently the default state for any character if you use Flame Dash, Smoke Mine, or Dash without any further investment.
Bro, we just trying
These
to be able
skills
to
will be
move.
rebalanced to be more in line with other movement skills. These are not huge numeric nerfs, but do mean that there is scope for improving the performance of the skills by specializing around them. There are many other balance changes in 3.15, which you
Wonder
can
how you
read
can
about in the balance
specialize around
manifesto
them.
and patch notes next week. To be honest, there are a lot of nerfs here. We completely understand that this
It's
level of
all
change will make
nerfs.
some people nervous, but it's time we start actively combating power creep and fixing game systems that haven't been working the way we intended them to.
I wonder why
I
they
think that
didn't
the
just wait
metagame of
until PoE
Expedition
2
is going
came
to be
out.
fascinating. The reduction of
I don't
overall
know. I
player
feel
power,
well,
combined with all
because
of the
like end
opportunities
games
for
are going to
new
be
skills and
combined, so I
flask
guess they
system
gotta
changes, should create entirely
like
new
anything they do
systems that
now
have
will help
previously
them
seen.
in that
More in line.
future.
You guys are
Yeah.
always surprising us with what you do, and we can't wait to see what you come up with here.
He looks
So back in early
very.
2018, there was a trend where every
Very
online
serious.
game was releasing a Battle Royale mode and getting a lot of
Fire
good press in the
Chris. Fire
process.
Chris. No, don't
We
fire.
had a running joke in the office that our fast development speed meant
Is
that
that
we
the
could
Twitch
probably
show?
add a Battle Royale mode to Path of Exile in one day of development.
Alright.
As April Fool's Day approached, we tried to do exactly that. We pulled a few developers together and asked them to spend no more than one workday each on their contributions to this new mode. On April 1st, 2018, we launched Path of Exile Royale.
This is actually it.
Yeah, buddy.
What the
It
heck?
was a quick
I
and
didn't
dirty
realize they
job, so
dropped
we
that
only
loot.
left the
That's
game
kind of
mode
funny.
turned on for a couple of days. It went pretty well considering it had no custom balance whatsoever.
Oh my god, I'm getting destroyed.
After April 1st, we turned the mode off and forgot all about it.
This is what
This man is
PvP should be.
online.
But the community did not forget. In fact, they've been quite keen to remember it constantly.
Nobody
and urge
forgets,
us to bring
brother.
it back. But that wouldn't be easy, as to actually make it a decent experience would require a lot of custom balance, playtesting, and feature implementation work.
Just
A
slap
few
it
months
in.
ago, we
Go play
decided
it.
to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Path of Exile Royale will return today. In fact, immediately after the QA section of this livestream.
What?
We're going to run it for the weekend as a test, and then turn it on every weekend for a while, starting the week after Expedition's launch. We'll patch it between weekends with balance tweaks, and if it's popular over the long term, new features. We have no idea what the long-term viability of this game mode is going to be like, so we'll run it for this league and then assess where things stand.
But you
Our
will.
initial version of Royale from 2018 used Path of Exile's default passive skill tree, which didn't have interesting options for characters that rarely got to level 10. It also used all of our
That's true.
skill gems and unique items as is,
You're
where
really
many
good.
of the interesting ones were way too high level for these super low level characters to ever find. We've made a completely new Royale specific
my.
passive skill tree that has everything you need to quickly adapt your character
Holy
for
crap.
high-speed PvP combat. It features
What the
approximately
heck?
90 new custom
I
notable
love it.
passives, a special new left
Shiny.
aligned window so you can stay aware of your surroundings while allocating
Royale
skills,
begins in
and
46
you gain
minutes,
2
25
passive skill points
seconds.
per level.
I see
You're
that
also
up
able
there.
to allocate passive skills from
I
any of
see
the tree's
that.
starting
You
locations.
can't see that because
regardless
the
of which
stream raiders
character
thing's
class you
over it.
picked.
I see it. Look at that.
We have created low-level versions of around 50 iconic skill gems, 20 support gems, and over 70 unique items.
Well, Apex, it
These
was
Royale
not.
effects are appropriate
Ooh, bring
for
back
low-level
those
play and
uniques.
include quite a few things that are usually only available at substantially higher
Yeah.
character levels in the core game.
Yeah. You have
The
a
whole
good day,
island has been
Soja.
improved. We've made the terrain more varied and
That's
interesting so that the fights feel different
Oh,
depending
see,
on where they
it's
take
Soja.
place. You'll encounter flask troves which provide charges for your flasks. These troves periodically replenish themselves, so expect a lot of combat to occur around them. There are many other small improvements you'll notice when you play Royale, such as an improved spectator mode, improved leaderboard,
And I died
and also
every
college items
single
from players through a
random
special
monster.
interface, rather than having them clutter the ground.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You don't need to delete and remake your character for each game, as you could just reuse
Kick
your
me
old
winner.
back,
characters
please.
automatically
No
reset to
boats
level
allowed. Winner.
Your prize for
Wow.
coming first on a Royale
That
event
name's
is
for
this
the-
new Roa Dinner hideout decoration. It's a bit like a Challenge League totem as it grows more impressive as you win more events. Royale is available to play today, as soon as our Q&A
Holy
session
cow.
concludes in about 45 minutes. So patch your Path of Exile client,
Wow.
and
The
when we're done with
timing.
the Q&A, log
That's
in
the good
and click to
stuff.
join the Royale event at the
The
bottom right of
power
the
of
screen.
pre-recorded
For more
live
detailed
streams.
information on how the mode works, check out the news post we just made on Path
Oh,
of
there's a
Exile.com.
ring too.
We'll be running the event from today over the
Gotta
weekend.
go.
If you don't get a chance to play Royale over the next few days, we'll run it again every weekend other than Expedition's launch
This
weekend for the
slamming
next
guy's
few months.
name is just
Please
what
check it out
they
and let us know your feedback.
Sorry,
Keep an
sorry.
eye on our news over the next
Uh,
week as we
Winner,
reveal the
winner,
finer
winner.
details of what's coming in
Wow.
Expedition, including the full patch notes on Tuesday, US time.
Yeah, shows the
We'll
supporter
move on to the
packs. There's
Q&A
a time.
shortly to answer your burning questions.
They
but
heard we
first,
wanted
let's have a look at the new
PvP, so-
supporter packs that are available right now to
PvP
celebrate the
boys.
launch of Expedition and help fund ongoing development of Path of Exile, Path of
Well,
Exile 2,
I think I
and
know.
special modes like Royale.
I don't know. Maybe I
The
should.
Soul Keeper and ACS
Oh
supporter
my
packs come
God.
with masses of points to spend in the store.
Oh.
Social frames, forum titles and badges,
That's
a
for
downloaded
you.
digital
Oh.
soundtrack, and of course
They're both
exclusive
so cool.
cosmetic microphones.
Oh,
They're,
like
it's
the
literally
that's for
Norse
me.
god
The
stuff.
Soul Keeper series
They're
comes with an exclusive pet and the
God.
ACS series an exclusive set
They're
of
so
wings.
good.
On top of the traditional
My money.
small and
Don't take
medium-sized
my
supporter
money.
packs that are consistent with ones we've released in the past,
Oh my
we're
gosh, I love
also
the
adding
Norse
an
stuff.
optional new
I
third
owed
tier
it.
for each series. This new tier includes an exclusive
I
apparition
owed
portal effect and a slightly better ratio of points per dollar spent. The introduction of these new
They're
packs
adding a
give you more
third tier
options
of
for a
packs?
combination of
Oh,
each pack
wow.
series you purchase.
That portal is
Like
pretty
always,
freaking
it's
cool.
possible to upgrade between pack tiers
We're
within
gonna
each
fight over
series.
this one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your
mean,
support. Purchases of
I
these
don't care
supporter
about that.
packs
We're
are
not
the
gonna watch
only
the
thing
Q&A,
that fund the
but-
ongoing development of Path of Exile, as well as
That was pretty
expansions like
crazy
Expedition
stuff.
and Path of Exile Royale.
Battle Royale?
The
43
reveals we
minutes?
showed you today are already live on YouTube for you to link to your friends in case they missed the live stream.
Alright,
Please do
what?
so. We'd love to have as many of you as possible joining our expedition next week.
Mm.
It's time for the Q&A. If you have any questions from what we've
If
shown
the
you
servers
today,
don't
please get them ready
explode.
because I'm about to be joined by Ziggy D as we answer your questions from Twitch chat. And after that, see you in Royale.
See you in Royale. 43 minutes. You start timer. Hold on. Well, I mean, are the servers gonna explode today when everybody tries to play the Royale?
I don't know. I'm trying to. I'm pretty sure I need to update mine. I'm positive I need to update mine. And it's
So should we end the stream here?
giving me an error. No,
Or
we should
do we
probably
just
not.
should probably what?
We should probably
on.
not.
Oh, not in.
Yeah. All right. Do you not care about this?
I don't know. We can watch it.
No, I don't really.
The Q&A is early for me. I have attention span for flashy video.
Truer words. I've never been. But skill gems looked amazing.
Yeah.
And then they kill you or something fun.
Oh yeah. The talk about the one witch one, right? Where it like sacrifices a lot of health.
Yeah.
Hi, Odin, are you sleepy? Does rain make you sleepy? I think Stream Raiders is finally working. Oh, apparently all of my people lost while the game was disconnected. I wonder if it just ended them.
I don't know.
Enter code.
Okay, so there was something I wanted to say. So the league mechanic, right? Seems kind of like RNG crafting kind of thing. And I wonder if that is going to replace other methods that aren't so RNG. You know?
That would be interesting.
And I feel like there's probably a way to make it considerably less RNG because, like, you wanna walk in and say, okay, day one, you and I have just as much chance of getting something good as people.
Good morning from Australia and New Zealand exiles. I'm Ziggy D, and I'm joined here with none other than the Chris Wilson. Good morning, Chris. How's it going?
Hey, things are going good.
That was a lot.
But that's not the case at all. That's not true.
Reveals there.
We're never going to be on playing field whenever it comes to a mechanic like
there
that.
Might be a little
bit
bit
probably not. It'll just be as much as they're like interacting with it and stuff. Huh?
Nerfy side of things. Yeah. I almost said it there. In fact.
And I hate the haggling thing.
Some pretty big changes.
I'm not judging their mechanic. That's a very personal thing.
Right.
And like the fact that
make it a little bit
right, and you can make him mad. I hate that. I don't haggle in real life. I'm more. I know this is really stupid, but I'm way more apt to overpay for something because it's good quality or it's good service. Like I've gone in with coupons and stuff and been like, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to use this. It's actually.
We'll get into the nerfs.
I'm really pleased with what I've received. I feel like it's
things like that.
I don't think that things should be
some questions about Expedition League
put sale.
That's been revealed.
I think that things should be priced.
My first question is
what they're worth.
States do these expeditions
and
have? Like if you die during the
if you need to put your thing on sale to sell it, then it wasn't priced right to begin with.
You can come back in basically. There's no timers and no automatic failure. Essentially, as long as you've got enough portals to get to the area.
Sorry, this just like touched on something that I have strong feelings about.
Doing the combat part.
You reloaded your
if you're
stream.
playing one of the expeditions that's accessed through a logbook, then it's got 6 portals.
I haven't.
Apparently, Hooks is playing the PvP.
So providing you haven't depleted those, you can come right back.
I imagine with a different power level for people to get used to, that'll.
But
be
again,
helpful.
I do wonder how this crafting is going to compete with, because they're really
there's
trying to
definitely
push.
some like random elements to it. I don't know how I feel about that, but
for this endgame only, or
they really seem to be pushing the RNG craft. People were obviously not going for that because if you have a method that's definitely going to give you 100 power versus something that might give you 60, might give you 120, you're going to go, well, this way I'm definitely getting 100. This is the better way.
Rush to maps, you can always trade them for some
more valuable.
You also added
Right,
Gabe
in
gambles.
theory.
I'm just gonna say, I mean, you touched on it with the 20-year nostalgia.
And
That's awesome. That's not a question though.
and yeah,
Are there
I
any
wonder
specific like
how
new
it's gonna
uniques
work.
or items that we can
Because
only get through the
they
unidentified gambling with Gwenny,
they were pushing
or
the
the
like
other
hit it
vendors,
with
I
an
suppose?
exalt
So we
thing,
intentionally
hit it with the chaos thing last. Enter code.
so that players absolutely
SWHJ.
systems to get those items. But you can get some quite interesting stuff. Like if you're lucky, for example, while gambling
Where?
for an item, you can get influenced items.
Code
Oh, sorry,
It's
right.
not just
Okay.
vanilla rares. There's some fun treasures hidden away there.
Any other things like from other leagues, like temple modifiers?
Okay, we're only doing flag bearers.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're looking to get pooped on.
We are trying to keep rewards specific for the content that generates.
I'll enjoy my flag bearer then.
That people will discover when they're doing their gambles.
All right, I'm pretty excited.
Some people are placing other stuff. Oh, this one up here is like defensive thing.
Immunity to physical damage, and I must admit I cringed a little bit because I generally dislike immunity.
So we
questions about that. As immunity is effectively hard shutdowns.
we trying this Battle Royale thing out?
Will it be easy to
Apparently we are. I mean,
You mean what?
I
Duh.
feel cannot join battle of current versus opponent. Really? Really? The two dudes that I play with are versus each other? Surely
I
not.
don't think so. What's their other name? It's not overdue.
Oh no, it totally is.
Oh, what the heck?
That's
That's
Totally
interesting.
is.
Wow. That is some.
Well, that's gonna be a rough fight. Maybe we should have gone with something other than flag bearers. I don't know.
Players will
Oh,
see
bro, it's looking great.
and think, sweet, I'll just tag all of them. And you should only do that if you've really read what they do and actually feel
What could go
they're
wrong?
capable of doing that content, which will be slightly harder to achieve in this league compared to previous ones.
It sounds like you'll know if you hit the wrong one. You kind of touched on my next question there a little bit, but
what do you use
why
the bones
use
on?
something like immunities then if it's effectively completely
I see
free,
chest.
or just do it because it's a free pass?
Because if it doesn't have a large impact in either direction on your character, then it doesn't really matter which one you want to hit. And we want to avoid the situation where every remnant averages out to it's a bit harder and gives you a bit more items. We're making it so that it actually has an impact on your character. Just like how you care if a map you're running as temp chains or not. You know, people actually do read maps before
the champion tank one's pretty cool.
Some people.
Yeah. Concerning. They'll have to now.
Champion Mage, I can't see it.
Is your Mage one loading?
Had a very good co-op league
No.
last league. Just want to say that Ultimate was fantastic for co-op. How does this one work in co-op?
I believe that only the map instance owner can actually place the explosives, but everything else is cooperative. You know, you can share the drops and share the fighting, and so it's really good to bring a team for it, especially with the new difficulty. It is basically the case that nowadays when we're designing leagues, we're not going to allow ourselves to release something that works terribly in multiplayer. Like it's a mistake we've made in the past. Part of the process now is asking the question, how does this work with parties? To the point where we have some pretty cool league ideas. They get put back on the drawing board because they really aren't party compatible.
Nothing to do with what?
That's really good to hear. I've very much enjoyed the new trend towards making things a lot more handy. Does the
weather
currency
is what I
stuff
said.
kind of
Me
like
downloading.
spread out between the players?
Oh, no, I
like
think the
both
weather
people get
is.
access to the trade windows, or only if it's their map, or how does that work?
My understanding, I'm just going to check this. Hey guys, all the players can access the vendors, right? Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, it's all good.
Are you watching the Q&A
If
anymore?
it's not the case, they'll fix it.
Good stuff.
No.
I feel like I'm winning the Q&A if I ask you a question.
Should I be?
Look off to the side.
No, I mean, I just had it up, so just cause. But
Today's crowd is Mark and Rory.
Hi, Mark. Thanks, guys.
Yes, he's like, so can the other players interact with the trade vendors? And he's like, let me ask. He's like, leans back. He's like, hey guys, the other people can trade with their vendors, right?
When you reveal the gems a little bit closer
It's
to
funny.
release. But this time you have 19 skill gems, one for each ascendancy
What do you
class.
mean
it
the
looks
other
like, and
people
that's
interact
pretty
with their
huge,
trade
and some of these
vendor?
are also very
Like
interesting.
other people can trade
let's just
with
rattle off some
the vendors.
skills. Rage
Like your
Vortex, it's
party.
limited to one active at a time, and it looks pretty cool. But does
so it's not like
attack
personal?
speed into consideration then?
Yeah, apparently, like everybody can
that's
trade with
right.
it.
You
I
have
don't
increased
know.
attack speed that
That's
affects the
interesting
speed
though,
of what it
because
attacks. You can just imagine it like a detached copy of
like
yourself.
don't know if that means they get the same items you're offered, or if that means they have their own items.
Maybe it was incorrect.
Yeah, I mean that's what I assume. That's kind of what they may sound like, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Hey guys, just wanted to say again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed our takes and reactions to seeing the cool new stuff they have prepared for us. If you guys enjoyed the content or are looking for some more gaming kind of things, that's kind of just what we do here. So subscribe if that's something you look forward to.